Right, so today I want to make this video about the Democratic representative sending staff to Mexico to coach migrants that have been returned to Mexico to pretend not to speak Spanish. Basically, all of this in an effort to get migrants into the U.S., I mean, in a nutshell. But let's read this story. It's from the Daily Caller, too, by the way. It was posted July 5th. And that it says Texas Democratic Representative Veronica Escobar is reportedly sending staff members into Mexico in order to coach migrants returned from the United States how to exploit a legal loophole that would allow them back into the country. In that, if the migrants can't speak Spanish, then technically they're not allowed to send them back to a Spanish-speaking country. Basically, is how I believe that it goes. In that. Escobar, who replaced former Texas Representative Beto O'Rourke, is sending staff members to Juarez, Mexico, to find migrants returned from El Paso, Texas, under the Remain in Mexico policy, them coaching them to pretend they cannot speak Spanish to avoid a legal loophole letting them return to the U.S. Let's see what else it says here. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but basically, number one, this is illegal. It's committing fraud. So this person and anyone participating in it should be prosecuted. And that, again, this is just, these kind of stories are all issues of larger problems in current society, or whatever you want to call it. And that the Democrats want immigration because they need the votes, and because they're not thinking of it that way, but the way that they're more or less thinking of it, and it's unconscious most of the time, in that people want to spend time and have people around them that they agree with, socially, politically, economically, all that kind of stuff. And the problem is that the left has gone a lot further to the left, therefore they need to start importing more people that agree with them, because all of a sudden the people that used to be, social democrats, or, center-left people that they didn't agree with everything, but at least they aligned enough with Democrats to agree with them. And now, if you're someone who's even remotely close to the center, you do not agree with the Democrat, or you're not, aligned with them enough to agree with them. So they need this whole new population to support them. And the other problem, too, is that the Republicans haven't really gone to the left. I mean, the conservatives in Canada definitely have, but the Republicans haven't really gone to the left. So there's this big gap in the U.S. In Canada, there isn't. But again, these problems are very, very, I'll put it this way. They need to be talked about a lot more. I think a lot of the Trump supporters and whatnot like talking about it, but I think there's a lot of people in the middle that are oddly silent on these kind of things. And that, I mean, your hardcore Democrats and leftists, they're never gonna talk about this unless it's they'll talk about it in that it's a good thing, but they'll never question it at all. It's there's the centrists are the people that, if they could speak up on this issue, that it would probably no longer be an issue, I guess is the best way to put it, because they literally want to spend taxpayer dollars helping people who aren't even citizens, let alone taxpayers. Like, the whole point of taxes is that everyone pools their money and then collectively help everyone involved, and that the rich more than likely lose out, and the people at the bottom, like the rich are net positives, the people at the bottom are net negatives. But at the very least, they're citizens. Like, these aren't even citizens. And the problem is that, I mean, I got to say this a million times, but we currently don't have the money to pay for the people we currently have. If taxes were raised, if taxes were doubled overnight, it still wouldn't even fund a universal healthcare system for the U.S. It still wouldn't even fund free subsidized college, university, all that stuff. Like I said, basically in a nutshell, if taxes were doubled, it still wouldn't even pay for the stuff that almost every Democrat running for president wants. So if we can't do that, then how in the world can we do it for hundreds of thousands, more than likely millions of other people? And the other problem too is that um, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I'm not sure if that's exactly how the saying goes, but a lot of people seem to have a lot of trouble criticizing people when their intentions are good, but what comes from their intentions is bad. And that's something that I think this is a lot of people in the center too, is that they're like you know, like these people, this whoever this woman is who's doing this, and the aides, they have good intentions. Don't get me wrong, they have good intentions, but the outcome of the intentions is going to be very, very bad because, and the reason for this is that if you're on the left, you're more likely to be of the genetic predisposition to be. I guess it's more of like an R selecting thing, but the base genetics are there's two kinds of people when it comes to this kind of stuff. The one group, it's very hard for them to see things in the long run and to think of potential concerns that could come up in the long run. In essence, whenever they're looking at doing these kind of things, all they care about is what can we do in the here and now. That's all that matters to them, is what's the best in the here and now. So the fact that we're going to continue going into more and more debt, the country is going to be more and more polarized. It doesn't even really register with them because thinking about the long-term consequences is something that genetically they're a lot less predisposed to do. And even if they are the exception to the rule when it comes to that gene set, almost all of the people they hang out with and spend time with, their family, probably is the opposite of them, in that it would be very uncomfortable for them to be the outsider of the group. Therefore, they just go along with it. So, I actually seen Tim Pool made a video about this yesterday, so that's why I thought I'd make a video about this. And that I don't. Tim Pool's a good example of someone that I really do not agree with much of his politics, but he is, at the very least, he holds himself to a high standard, in that, like he even says that, you know, I used to be a Democrat, I would vote Democrat if there were some sane Democrats, but he at the very least has some integrity and some standards, in that a lot of centrists and these kind of people, they don't have any, I mean, Republicans, Democrats, everyone, but the centrists are the people that generally determine the outcomes of the elections, because you got the Democrats are going to vote Democrat no matter what. Same for the liberals. The conservatives or Republicans are going to vote Republican or conservative no matter what. And it's which side can get the most people on the center to sway their way that determines the elections. So that's basically that. The other thing too that I would point out with a lot of these things is that Judicial Watch, I think, has shown that there's about 2 million, maybe there's a lot of people on the voter rolls that shouldn't be on voter rolls. In other words, people that are illegally voting, or at the very least have the ability to illegally vote. And that's another reason why the Democrats want to bring these people in, is that they need the voters, whether they're legal or illegal. And saying that, Republicans want to do this too, is not an argument, because number one, they're not the ones that want mass immigration. Number two, they don't have a reason to cheat. The reason why why cheating appeals to people is because they're not confident in their ability to win. If you're a dominant player in some sport, then why would you want to cheat? The only reason that you'd want to cheat is that if you're average or below average, then you could be dominant. So cheating only appeals on average. There's definitely exceptions. I know someone will point out an exception. But cheating only appeals to people who aren't confident enough, or generally in a fair fight, they wouldn't win on average. So the Democrats, definitely there's going to be a lot of illegal voting, and that's, I know I'm jumping around topic to topic here, but I wanted to do this just because I think it's relevant to this too. I seen some people have been talking about how Trump's approval rating has gone up a little bit lately, and the jobs report is pretty good lately, and that a lot of people are talking, well, how is there any way Trump can lose the next election, given that the Democratic field is so weak of candidates, and even if there was a strong candidate, Trump still has a pretty good approval rating. Even if there was a good candidate, he probably would still be more likely to win than lose. But the only way that Trump's going to lose the next election is, I mean, one of two reasons, and that they're kind of tied in together, is that voter fraud, or the media is going to successfully run smear campaigns, basically, which they already ran about as many smear campaigns as they possibly could last election. I don't know what they're going to come up with this election, but they're going to do some things. But again, like I said, I'm kind of jumping around topics. I think I'm going to kind of cut this video off. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you like the video, and stay tuned for more.